Yo, what is up, you guys? Thanks for joining in for another Fireside Talks stories. The last episode, we finished up chapter 1, introducing the main characters, John, Code, Zandre, love interest to um, his parents, his mom, and his dad, and Uncle Jay as well. We got a little snippet of Persia, the spastic miniature schnauzer. So, with all of that set into stone, we are going into a little bit of spiciness as the story goes on. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Chapter 2, An Unexpected Trip. The next day, Code arrived at school, praying that asking out Zandre would end well. "Hey, dude," John said as he walked up to Code. He had a bag of Cheetos in one hand and a Red Bull in the other. "Hey, John," said Code, half awake. They entered the school together and walked to their first period. Code walked into his class, dreaming of getting to English as fast as possible. His first class was geography, followed by band, and then English. "Yo, Code, wait up!" John yelled as he ran to catch up to Code. Sweaty, cotton mouthed, and heart racing, he entered the room and took his seat, followed by John, who sat behind him. As Code surveyed the room, he saw Zandre sitting towards the back of the classroom, talking with her friends. She took notice of him looking at her and gave him a little wave. "All right, everyone, take a seat," Mrs. Tiger called out as she approached the board. "I can't wait for the day you ask her out," John whispered to Code from behind. "That will be the day." Code snickered nervously. Mrs. Tiger turned to the class. "So, since for the past few weeks we have been talking and studying about Brazilian culture and literature, drumroll please, the class began to erupt in a barrage of thunderous noise. All right. We will be taking a trip to Brazil." The class replied in thunderous applause, but Code's heart skipped a beat, knowing what this meant. "Oh boy," Code whispered as he put his face into his hands. John began to shove Code's shoulder. Dude, he whispered. "What?" Code whispered back sharply. "You know what this means, right?" John said. "I hate you so much right now. You know that, right?" Code replied as John slapped him on the back. "So," Mrs. Tiger announced, "all I need from everyone is to turn in this permission slip with your parents' signature," Mrs. Tiger said as she walked to each desk and proceeded to pass out the slips to each student. As the bell rang, Code, John, and the rest of the students rushed on to their next class. "I'll catch you later," Zandre said to Code as she passed him by. "Oh, yeah, catch you later," Code replied nervously. "Catch you later," John mocked as he walked down the hallway. "Shut up," Code yelled as he shoved John. "Jeez, fine. Sorry, dude," John said, completely taken back from Code's response. As he walked to his next class, Code rolled his eyes as he, too, went to his next class. After school, Code rode the bus home with John. They both sat in the back of the bus in silence until John spoke up. "Hey, dude," John said. "What?" Code replied. "I should have never taunted you like that. I'm sorry, man." John looked at his feet. "It's okay, man. I understand." I mean, you were just excited. That's all. John looked at Code and smiled. Thanks, man, John replied. Welcome. Oh, this is my stop. Oh, yeah, sorry about that, man, John said as he got up to let Code past him. As Code walked off the bus and down the street, John slumped back down into his seat, looking out the window at Code. I hope this goes well, John whispered to himself. Code walked to his house and set his books down on the front steps. From the yard, he heard the sporadic barking of Persia. Shut up, dog, he heard his dad yell, trying to speak over the roar of the engine of his lawnmower. As Code approached the door, he let his dad enter first. Oh, thanks, his dad replied. Welcome. Code replied back. Yeah, I just got done mowing the lawn and weed eating, and your dumb dog would not shut up, as if someone... Code's dad's voice was drowned out by a vision that Code began to have. He saw through the backsliding glass door a monstrous-like creature in his backyard, staring at him with an RPG in hand. The creature slowly made his way closer to the house, step by step. But before the creature could reach the door, Code's dad snapped his fingers as if to wake Code up. Code! Code! Are you okay? Code snapped out of his vision immediately. Huh? Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm fine. I'm good. What were you zoned out about? Code's dad replied. Oh, nothing. Just thinking, Code said. Oh, uh, so my teacher gave me this slip about this trip to Brazil for you to sign. I guess we are flying out in a week or so. Hey, wait, so how much does it cost? And is it a part of a school project or what? Code's dad asked. Oh, no. It doesn't cost anything. And we leave during school on the 5th of January and come back on the 19th. Okay, well, I will chat with your mom about it when she gets home from work, okay? Replied Code's dad. Okay, thanks, Code said as he ran up the stairs to his room. He sat down at his desk and took out his geometry binder, sat back in his chair, closed his eyes, and began to have yet another vision. Seeing a group of men standing above what seemed to be a mix of animal remains sewn together. Is everything ready? A voice muttered from behind Code. One of the men in the group looked up. Yes. Dan, we are ready for further instruction. Code gasped as he noticed who this strained voice behind him belonged to. Dan was his great-great-grandfather, who had died suspiciously by unknown causes. Dan, we've created this creature, but the only thing is there's no life. Another man said. Okay. Well, I didn't come all this way to find nothing, replied Dan. We were sent here for a reason, to find a new species, a new creature. A new creature, Code repeated to himself. Use me for that thing. Whatever is needed to make that thing live, take from me, Dan exclaimed. If anyone is going to die for this project, it's going to be me. I have worked on this for way too long and am not about to let myself or any of you fail. The men looked around at each other in surprise. But, sir, what about the rest of your findings? What about your family? A man in the crowd said. Well, Dan said, all that will always be in my heart. But this creature, Dan said as he stroked the beast's head. I can proudly call my own. I will have died knowing we have completed our mission, our reason for coming here, Dan shouted as he began to sob. The embarrassment of returning to America, being remembered as a failure, is too much for me to bear. Dan slowly looked into the man's eyes. Looking at the desperation in Dan's eyes, he eventually gave in to the despair on his own partner's face. Fine, the man said. He took his knife out of his belt as Dan lay on the ground and braced himself, closing his eyes. As soon as the man saw Dan close his eyes, he gripped his knife and thrusted it into Dan's chest, slowly killing him. Then taking the knife out, he began carefully carving Dan to pieces. Code looked away with tears in his eyes as his own grandfather was dissected. As Code snapped back, he was met with the aroma of dinner. He wiped his tears from his face, put his binder back in his backpack, and ran downstairs to the chaos in his kitchen, brought on by yet another screeching show from his dog. He greeted his mom with a hug. Hey, honey, how was your day? She said. It was pretty good, for the most part, Code replied with a smile. That's good, his mother replied. So, I hear you're going on a trip? Oh, yeah, Code replied. That seems like fun, his mom replied, waving her hands above her head. His dad turned to him. Yeah, sport, your mom and I talked a bit about it and had the slip signed and ready for you on the counter. Awesome, Code exclaimed, rushing to the counter. His mom said, reaching out for his arm. Finish dinner, and you can worry about it later. Code smiled and sat down to eat. After finishing dinner, Code excused himself from the table, went downstairs to watch TV, and later that night headed to bed, still in thought of his vision. What could this all mean? He wondered to himself as he drifted off to sleep. Well, there you go, chapter 2 of The Creatures. I told you we were getting a little spicy, getting into the meat of the book now. We are about knee deep, I think, about shin or knee deep into the waters. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't checked out the last episode that involved chapter 1, so if you don't, well, if you need some context or anything, if you haven't checked out the last episode, go check it out just so you can have the context going into the 3rd chapter. But thank you guys again. I love you guys all. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for every video that I put out. If you like, comment, and subscribe, you will be notified of every video that I post. Thank you guys again. I love you guys. You guys have an amazing night, and I will see you guys later on. Peace out.